Well, we're getting information from the Mammoth Community Water District. Construction underway, as we know, on that groundwater monitoring well required by the Bureau of Land Management. Press release says, well, to protect Mammoth Lakes community's water supply from contamination or depletion by Ormat Technology Incorporated expanded geothermal extraction project CD4, Casa Diablo 4. Now, the press release notes while the construction of the new monitoring well is an important step, it will not provide all of the critical data needed to understand the relationship between the geothermal reservoir and the shallow aquifer systems. Now, to improve groundwater protection, the United States Geological Survey recommends the installation of a second deep monitoring well that will provide a more comprehensive and accurate assessment of the potential impacts and risks to Mammoth's groundwater. However, the press release notes BLM, the federal regulatory agency overseeing the project, has failed to require the multi-billion-dollar International Energy Corporation to do what's necessary to protect the health and safety of Mammoth's residents, businesses, and visitors. Now, said Patrick Hayes, general manager of the Mammoth Community Water District, the groundwater monitoring well under construction is only part of the equation. A second, deeper monitoring well is needed to ensure Mammoth's water supply is properly protected from contamination and depletion, yet regulators haven't required it, placing our water resources at unnecessary risk. Now, 2 years of scientific data collected by the USGS demonstrate consistent evidence of a hydraulic connection between the Mammoth community's groundwater supply and the geothermal reservoir. The press release notes that data clearly demonstrate the risk that Ormat's operation present to the water supply. The Mammoth community deserves safe water, Hayes said. It's unclear why Ormat is choosing to put Mammoth's precious groundwater supply at risk when solutions are readily available to protect the water and community. Ormat and regulators need to be cautious, not careless, as they develop and expand energy sources. Now, for several years, the press release notes, Mammoth Community Water District has advocated for a responsible and comprehensive approach to monitoring and protecting the town's water supply from the potentially crippling impacts of Ormat's new Casa Diablo 4 plant. Mammoth Community Water District, the press release notes, is not opposed to Ormat's project. It is simply calling for a robust, data-driven approach that will protect Mammoth's groundwater from unnecessary risk. If you would like more information, see the Mammoth Community Water District website, mcwd.dst.ca.us. Well, Deb Murphy filed this story. Town of Mammoth Lakes Mayor John Wentworth asked the question, how do you consume an elephant? Or in the town's case, solving the housing issue. And they did this at last Wednesday's meeting. The question, one bite at a time. Mammoth Lakes Town Council took a few little bites out of its housing elephant when it accepted the Community Housing Action Plan and okayed financing for the 25-acre Shady Rest property. The only hesitation came from Mammoth Lakes Town Council member Bill Saucer, who wanted to vet the elements of the plan through the budget process. Now, the plan, developed by WSW Consulting and paid for by Mammoth Mountain Ski Area, strongly recommended the town commit to a full-time position to handle housing issues. That was Saucer's reservation. Could the town afford that commitment? Mayor Wentworth's solution: take an inventory of staff capacity and report back at the council's February 7th meeting. Now, of the Shady Rest affordable housing project, Mammoth Lakes Town Manager Dan Holler said a tentative purchase agreement had been sent to the owner of the 25-acre parcel 3 weeks ago, and Holler anticipated the document will be signed and delivered by the council's December 20th meeting. He ran through the funding sources. The bulk of the purchase, $6,545,000, including environmental report, title work, and appraisals, will come from reserve accounts to the tune of over $5.2 million. Now, the balance from transient occupancy tax monies, 63% of the funds drawn from reserves will be repaid over a 3-year period. The current plan is to build 172 units on the 17 developable acres. Deb Murphy also filed this story. After 4 hours of discussion, 3 things stood out as the Inyo County Board of Supervisors thrashed through the latest iteration of the county's commercial cannabis ordinance at last Tuesday's meeting. Now, according to the consultant from Hinderleiter, Delamas and Associates, the California marijuana market may be oversubscribed with more cannabis license seekers than cannabis users. The only retail shops may be located in the Bishop or the far reaches of South County areas unless a micro business combines retail with some other cannabis operation. Also, 62% of the folks in Olancha, Cartago really don't want anything to do with pot. Now, following a series of local workshops, the county's work group made a few adjustments in the original ordinance introduced last month. Now, after the public comment period and supervisors' discussion at last Tuesday's meeting, more fine-tuning ended up with commercial operations banned in rural residential zoning on lots smaller than 12 acres, whittled down by a 300-foot buffer zone. Now, the one exception was made in the Stewart Valley, Charleston View area with a whole lot of 2.5 acre parcels and an enthusiastic grower community. Now, the 7-year license semi-cap license holders would have to go through a competitive renewal process. That was extended to 10 years, then removed altogether. Now, the grand finale, setting limits on the number of licenses issued in 11 zones. That took less time and was less dramatic than the Inyo County Board of Supervisors anticipated. Deb Murphy's full report from that meeting is posted on sierrawave.net. Now, she also posted this story, Inyo County Board of Supervisors filing a temporary restraining order, stopping the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power from flipping the on switch to well 385R's pump test. Now, in addition, the board has initiated litigation against the department to keep the pump off. Now, that decision was made again at last Tuesday's closed session meeting. Water Department Director Bob Harrington ended his presentation on the well and the impacts to the groundwater in the Five Bridges area at Wednesday's Water Commission meeting. He also informed the commissioners that the Owens Valley Committee and the Sierra Club have begun the Memorandum of Understanding arbitration dispute resolution over the test. Harrington had submitted a comment letter on LADWP's initial study negative declaration on the project, pointing out the discrepancies in the process and the requirements of the long-term water agreement and potential violations of CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. Now, LADWP's response failed to address those issues or issues raised by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, attorneys for the OVC and Sierra Club, and 10 other individuals or entities. LADWP's Board of Commissioners adopted the negative declaration at its November 27th meeting after approximately an hour of public comment opposed to the document. Thank Deb Murphy for those reports. Well, command staff changes taking place at the Mono County Sheriff's Department. Mono Undersheriff Michael Moriarty announced that he will be retiring from the Mono County Sheriff's Department effective December 22nd, 2017. Mono Sheriff Ingrid Braun issued a press release noting Undersheriff Moriarty will conclude a law enforcement career that has spanned over 30 years from Pennsylvania to California. And in his 3 years in Mono County, Braun stated Undersheriff Moriarty shepherded the Mono County Sheriff's Office into the modern era of policing. His experience and wisdom brought change and progress, and his mentoring and encouragement helped build the career skills of all of our staff, Sheriff Braun noted. She said she's heartbroken to lose him, as Michael Moriarty has been a friend, mentor, and partner to Braun for over 25 years. Now, under Sheriff Moriarty's retirement, Braun notes, affords her an opportunity to reward the good and dedicated work of Lieutenant Philip West with a promotion to Undersheriff. Lieutenant West came to the Mono County Sheriff's Office over 15 years ago from the Bishop Police Department. He was promoted through the ranks, achieving the rank of lieutenant nearly 5 years ago. Lieutenant West has been a committed partner to Braun and Undersheriff Moriarty over the past 3 years. Well, Deb Murphy also filed a report on Marge Doyle, a candidate for the District 8 seat in Congress. That drew a standing room only crowd in the Bishop City Council chambers recently. Marge Doyle is from Joshua Tree, an RN who came up through the ranks to take an administrative position with a healthcare company that puts HIV clinics across the country. She's president of her local healthcare district. And Deb Murphy notes she's a Democrat. Doyle came to Bishop to find out what the issues were on the minds of folks in the Eastern Sierra. Doyle said, "I'm asking for my marching orders when I get elected." Told that to a crowd. About 70 people were there. Doyle started the 2-hour session answering the big question: why would a Democrat run enthusiastically for a seat in a predominantly Republican district? Now, the balance of the 2-hour session was a question and answer covering a broad range of issues, including health care, immigration, education, funding, and environmental issues. Deb Murphy's full report on Ms. Doyle's visit to Bishop posted on our website, sierrawave.net. We'll be back with more news.